In the corruption trial of former Virginia Governor Bob McDonnell, some damaging testimony from two well-respected doctors. Peggy Fox was in the Richmond courtroom with more on what those doctors had to say about the man in the middle of this case, Johnny Williams.
A Northern Virginia doctor was on the stand today. He was wined and dined by Johnny Williams and the McDonnells. He said he was interested in studying anatoblock.
I can't talk about any evidence in the case.
A day the former governor will have to explain is leap year 2012, February 29th. That's the day prosecutors say he met privately with Star Scientific CEO Johnny Williams to discuss ways Williams could transfer $50,000 in shares of Star to the McDonnells. Williams testified that they both wanted to not have to report the deal. Hours later, Williams, the governor, and his wife attended a governor's mansion reception for healthcare leaders.
Thank you.
Dr. Frank Krantz, an endocrinologist from McLean, attended the event because of his interest in studying anatoblock. He was flown down in Williams's Lear jet. Krantz recalled Williams giving an energetic pitch for the product. Other Star executives were also at the meeting, and so were researchers.
I think there's none of us who really are happy to be involved in this.
Also at that event was Virginia's Secretary of Health, Bill Hazel, who was called to testify. Also on the stand today, former director of the governor's mansion and good friend of a McDonnell daughter.
How difficult was that up there?
Not fun. Sarah Scarborough helped prosecutors by shooting a hole in the defense claim that the McDonnells' marriage was on the rocks. Scarborough said, quote, "They seemed like a happy and in-love couple." He told investigators that he, quote, "worshipped the ground Maureen walked on." But during cross-examination, she admitted that she had called Maureen McDonnell sneaky and that the First Lady would use her husband's name to get what she wanted. Concerning that hug Bob McDonnell gave to prosecution witness Mary Shea Sutherland and the judge's scolding to not let it happen again.
That's just part of the process.
Before the jury came in this morning, Bob McDonnell's attorney told the judge that he did not think his client acted improperly by hugging that former staffer. In Richmond, Peggy Fox, WUSA9.
And coming up at 6, Peggy reports on the damaging testimony by Virginia's Secretary of Health. Matt Kaiser is a white-collar criminal defense attorney based in D.C. and a founding partner at the Kaiser law firm. Matt, I was going to start with a different question, but since Peggy ended talking about the pettiness outside of the courtroom, let's talk about that first. Now we have Huggate.
Yes, let's talk about the hug. That's after the former First Lady's Chief of Staff finished testifying, she was out in the hallway, and apparently that was a hard thing for her. It was kind of an ordeal. The governor came up, and I think his lawyers would say saw her in having a bad day, and he gave her a hug.
What's so wrong about that?
Well, if she's going to testify later for the defense, if she's going to be back talking to the jury, it's really improper for someone to go and talk to somebody who's a witness in the case, between testimony. It's probably a close question whether the governor actually intended to do anything wrong there. He was probably just responding to the deep emotional needs of somebody he's known for a long time. But nonetheless, at this point in a trial where everybody's fighting really hard and they're tired and they haven't slept well in weeks, little things like that can blow up between the defense and the prosecution.
We've had all kinds of tawdry details about the McDonnell's life and the crushes. But you say at this point in the trial, the government has really laid out a mostly circumstantial case, and it's pretty thin.
Well, that's exactly right. The government has talked about two things. They've talked about all the gifts, the Rolex watch, the pictures in the Ferrari.
The yellow dress.
The yellow dress, absolutely. The shopping trips, and the loans, the kids, gross. And on the other hand, they've talked about a lot of things that the state of Virginia, a lot of things that the governor did for Johnny Williams and for his company. But what they haven't talked about is the link between the two. They haven't had anyone who gave them that quid pro quo. So what they're trying to show is when you look at the gifts and you look at what the governor did, there must have been a quid pro quo there.
We got to go. We don't have much more time left, but the next big witness, you say, or the next big person to give any kind of testimony will be the governor himself.
I think that's exactly right. If the prosecution had another blockbuster witness, we would have heard him by now. I think the next thing will be the governor.
All right, Matt Kaiser. We'll see if that happens next week or if it takes a little longer.
Exactly. Thank you.